So, welcome to the session. This is our history optional for 2025. In this session, we will have the orientation of history. We will deal how to approach a history optional for your civil service examination 2025. What is the best strategy? What has to be your strategy for paper 1, paper 2 and that mapping part, etc. Okay, and the important reference material you should follow, okay, regarding answer writing, regarding revision part, regarding the mock test part, etc. we will discuss today. So why history optional? I would start with this. See, why history optional? Why history a very sensible choice for your civil service examination mains? We know that there are lots of optionals, lots of optional subjects are there in this UPSC civil service examination main part. You know, in the mains 9 papers, 2 qualifiers and 7 merit papers, and there is optional which has 500 marks. Am I right? Out of 750, 1750, 1750, yes, 500 marks is from your optional. So there are lots of optionals, and why history optional one of the best choice, or why is lots of people are opting this history optional? Because this is one of the subject which has that much overlaps with your prelims and mains syllabus. Am I right? Coming to these prelims, see that around 15 to 20 questions if you take from 2011 to 2024, okay, 2011 to 2011, that is the year prelims pattern is changed. 2011 to 2024, you see that on an average, yes, you can expect 15 to 20 questions from history and culture alone. See, what are the questions? They ask questions from this art, architecture, literature part. Indus art architecture or Mauryan art architecture, Gandhara Madhura Amaravati, there are temple architecture, Indo-Islamic architecture, Vijayanagar art and architecture, Chola art and architecture, Sangam art and architecture, and literature. So from art, architecture, literature, they definitely ask, you know, minimum, yes, 4 to 5 questions in the prelims. Am I right? Similar way, ancient, medieval, modern, you can expect around this, you know, 6 to 8 questions. 6 to 8 questions. Then these history, personalities or events in the news. From the current affairs part also you can expect something around 2 questions. Okay, so minimum I would say that something around this 15, average of 15 questions, you know. Sometimes it goes up to 10 also or 12 also. So average of 15 questions from prelims, and that is scored is, you see, 15 into 2 means that is around 30 marks you score alone from this history in the prelims part. Okay, if cutoff is 88, cutoff is 92, cutoff is 98, whatever it is, around 30 marks, you know, you score alone from this history optional. You ask to any optional students here, those guys who took history as their optional, just ask them how was their history part in the prelims paper. Most of them would say that they scored a 10% in the history. Because history in prelims also, they started asking from deeper areas here. You know, UPSC started asking from deeper areas of the history, even the art and culture questions or ancient, medieval, modern questions, you know. So the guys who have a grip over history, or the guys who done history optional, for them solving these history questions are very easy. Almost all the 15 questions they would solve, and this is pakka, you know, guaranteed marks. 30 marks is a guaranteed marks. That is an advantage of history optional. Then you see, because all these things you cover in history optional. Okay, then similar way in GS1 you look into that 80 to 100 marks questions would be from this history only. GS1, you know, the core modules are, there is Indian history, world history, world history, art and culture, geography, society. So you can see that from this Indian history, world history and art and culture part, definitely a number of questions would be there. And from society also, you could see that sometimes the culture and society are clubbed. Sometimes the history and society are integrated. That way UPSC asks the questions. Okay, so definitely 80 to 100 marks questions you would get from this GS1. Sometimes history and culture integrated with the society questions also. For answering society questions, you need the understanding in the history. So you see that that thing is important. GS2 also, in the polity part or in the international relations or in the social justice part, sometimes UPSC, since they follow this interdisciplinary approach, you know, multiple subjects are clubbed together to ask a single question. In a single question, you can see that multiple subject dimensions you can see. So in that area also history is important. GS3, internal security. Sometimes you are answering on this, India's internal security challenges, or they connect you with the historical perspective. Okay, sometimes economic connected with the historical economic depression of 1930s. Okay, so sometimes you can expect questions like that. GS4. Okay, GS for ethics. There you have a module called great personalities, or these great contributors and these contributions, etc. Philosophers, philosophies, contributors, contributions, etc. There you cover Indian and world international philosophers, thinkers, contributors. That thing we cover in the history part also. So the biggest advantage you see, and essay also. Every essay you see, you have to write in 1200 words. You have to bring in different dimensions. Of course, there is a historical dimension. You definitely will add a historical dimension. So history is something I would say that this is the only subject I would say it having this much overlapping with your prelims part and your mains part. That is the biggest advantage. If you ask me why should I choose history optional, I would say this is the reason one has to choose history optional for the UPSC mains preparation. Okay, not only mains, yeah, optional comes in mains, but this is helpful in your prelims part also. Okay. There are some questions I am showing you previously asked. These are some questions you see. The history, the knowledge of the history or understanding history that saves you in other subjects also. Okay. Then usually these are the reference books we follow. I recommend, there are lots of other books also, but here history optional, what I do is I do the reference work or the research work. I have other reference books, authentic reference books, and the research work I will do, and I will bring you in the form of my classes and my material. Okay, and the standard reference books I would say the students should have with you is, of course, for ancient India, this Ubender Singh is a good reference. Ubender Singh, Ancient and Early Medieval India by Ubender Singh. If you don't have this textbook, no worry. In the library, you can access it. Okay, you will get this book from the library itself. Then India's Ancient Past by R.S. Sharma. Ashoka and the Decline of Mauryas by Romila Thapar. These are some important books you should read. There are many other books I am not suggesting right now because I will do that research part and all, and will bring into the classes in the form of my classes and material. Okay. So for ancient India, this Ancient and Early Medieval India by Ubender Singh, then India's Ancient Past by R.S. Sharma, then Ashoka and the Decline of Mauryas by Romila Thapar. For medieval India, yes, medieval India from Sultanate to Mughals, Satish Chandra. Then medieval India from Sultanate to Mughals, volume 2, part 2, Satish Chandra. Okay, this is again a good reading for history optional students. Again, Irfan Habib is there, and there are many other reference books are there. I'm not suggesting. Why I'm not suggesting? Because I will bring you in the form of material and in the form of my classes and notes. Okay. Modern India, there is Biban Chandra, India After Independence by Biban Chandra, Post-Independence. Then there is a book called Plashi to Partition, Shekhar Bandobade. This is for selective reading, for building up the perspectives and this, analysis, critical analysis, etc. For world history, there is History of the World by Arjun Dev, Mastering Modern World History by Norman Lowe. These are some standard books for your world history. Standard books for your world history. So as of now, so don't worry, don't think that why he is not suggesting other books. Okay, I'm not suggesting. Why intentionally I am not suggesting? Because if your reference is multiplied, you will take next 10 years to clear this exam. So here our strategy is, limiting your sources, and doing maximum rounds of revisions. Once you learn the things, we will do maximum rounds of revisions and the practice part. That is very much important. And again, I am telling you, if you go through the syllabus and PYQs, you will understand that everything is not needed. Even though people say that history is a vast syllabus, let me tell you very frankly that everything in the syllabus is not needed for clearing this exam. Recurring themes are there, repetitive questions are there, areas are there, okay, prioritized areas are there. So we will distinguish what are the core areas, what are the peripheral areas. Everything is not needed. Everything is not needed. Similar way, there are lots of around 30 or 40 books are available for history. Okay, everything you know, because you are not going to become, like what is called a writer or a historian or a, like a editor something. You see, your purpose is, simply to crack this exam. Am I right? So limiting our sources and doing maximum revision part. content enrichment and practice part. Okay, got the books, got the idea? So if possible, you can buy a copy of each. Even if that is not possible, you can access it from the library. Okay, you can access it from our library itself. No tensions, no worries. Okay. Now the question is, what are the things you have to cover in the history? Okay, this is again a concern for many aspirants. They are totally afraid. What are things I have to study? What are the things I have to cover? നിങ്ങൾ ബോർഡിലേക്ക് നോക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും. If you guys have done this particular, GS syllabus, if you have at least 2-3 times you have gone through the GS syllabus, you will understand that these are the majority of these things you have to study for your GS preparation. Am I right? Okay, let us see. Yes, this is our history optional paper 1. Our history optional paper 1. You see, this is history optional paper 1, ancient India and medieval India. Ancient India and medieval India. History optional paper 1, we have to study ancient India and medieval India. Just look into this. Okay, just look into this. What are things you study in this, ancient India? Paper 1. See, here coming to our history optional, I said it. Every optional we will have paper 1, we will have paper 2. Okay, there is paper 1, there is paper 2, and it will have 2 sections, section A and section B. Am I right? Section A and section B. So here please try to understand, in paper 1 we will have section A is ancient India, section A is ancient India, section B is medieval India, section B is medieval India. Here section A is modern India and section B is world history. Okay, this is modern Indian history, this is world history. And of course we know that each paper, like other optionals also, each paper carries 250 marks. Each paper carries 250 marks. This paper 1 carries 250, paper 2 also carries 250 marks. Section A is ancient India, section B is medieval India. Here section A is modern India, section B is world history. You understood this, na? Okay, coming to this paper 1, look into this. Coming to this paper 1, first thing we will cover sources. Now I will tell you how easy this thing is here. Sources, I'm telling you, for example, look into this my slide here. See, for example, sources. This is one of the easiest module, I will say that. Sources are, primary sources are there, and secondary sources are there. It is very easy. Now I will tell you what is primary sources. See, for reconstructing the history of India, we require the archaeological findings. Am I right? Archaeological findings. For example, Indus Valley civilization. Most of these civilizational features, its society, its economy, its culture, its religion, whatever the informations we got, that is by digging the ground here. British East India Company, while making the arrangements for railway tracks and all, while digging the ground, they got some, unexpectedly they got some remains, some bricks, pieces of the bricks and all. Again, they started digging deeper. Then they found these remains of an ancient Indian civilization, that was Indus civilization. From the pieces of these archaeological remains only, we constructed most of this historical information about the civilization. Am I right? From the whatever the things we got, their pottery or their grains, remains of the grains, or maybe fossils of the animals they domesticated, or maybe cotton peas, and from the bricks they used, from their whatever the things they used, from which only we scientifically came to certain conclusions. We got the information, we constructed the history of that Indus civilization. Most of the informations we depend on that archaeological excavations. Am I right? Findings from the archaeological excavations. So see, archaeological findings, okay. Then there is literary findings. For example, you see literature. Let us see that there is Vedic literature. From Vedic literature we construct the history of this Vedic Aryans. Am I right? the arrival of the Ardians, their settlement, their agricultural practices, or about their tribal polity, or about their economy, about their religion, multi-god worship, about their sacrifices, about their marriage system. All the informations we collect from the Vedic literature. From Sangam literature, we collect information about the Sangam people, Sangam Chola Chera Pandyas. Am I right? So we will study about the primary sources, like archaeological sources, literary sources. Archaeological sources will have the inscriptions. It will have the inscriptions, coins, and these archaeological findings, or maybe these fossils, etc. Okay. Literary sources means, of course, we have religious literature and secular literature. For example, Kalidasa's works. Kalidasan Kavita edutunu. So Kalidasa's works, give us information about this golden age of these Guptas. There are many secular literature, many secular works. Arthashastra, you heard about Arthashastra? Kaudilya's Arthashastra, Megasthenes Indica. Okay, then many foreigners also visited India in ancient times. For example, Huan Sang, he is Siyuki, a Chinese Buddhist pilgrim. Am I right? And so, from these literary findings and archaeological findings, we construct the history of India, or we reconstruct the history of India. Am I right? So, these are primary sources. Then secondary sources are there, for example, interpretations by different historians. Romila Thapar, Ubender Singh, or this R.S. Sharma, Sadish Chandra, Irfan Habib, different historians, Neelkanta Shastri. So you see that there are interpretations, that is secondary sources, So from primary, secondary sources, we construct the history of India. Now let me tell you why this is important. Because UPSC in the prelims also, they asked the questions about Arthashastra. They asked, you remember, they asked a question about the slavery system in Arthashastra. Recently in the prelims, they asked a question. They asked questions about the archaeological findings from Indus civilization. They asked questions about Vedic literature, Upanishads. There are lots of questions they asked from Upanishads, Vedic literature, its classification, etc. Arinnigas. Or maybe there is Samhidas, Rigveda Samhita, Samaveda Samhita, Yajurveda Samhita, Atharveda Samhita. Its classifications and what is the deal about. It was a prelims question. Sangam literature they asked in the mains examination. Okay, foreigners accounts they asked in the mains examination. So, when I say sources, this is not just for your optional. I am telling you, this is one of the very important module you have to cover for your GS prelims and mains. Because lots of Kalhana's Rajatarangani, the first history by an Indian about India. Am I right? So there are lots of such questions they ask in prelims and mains in GS part here. So that is the relevance of this particular module. And without understanding the sources, we cannot cover the rest of the modules. You should know how the history of India is framed. What are the sources we, taken into consideration for constructing the history of India. So that module is all about different sources, primary sources, secondary sources, archaeological sources, literary sources, Indian sources, foreign sources, which we depend on constructing the history of India. These sources are important for your prelims also. That is the relevance of that module. Okay. Now the second is prehistoric to proto-historic. What is prehistoric age? Prehistoric means regarding that particular age, no written records are available. No written records are available. Mostly we depend on this, whatever the stone tools or maybe whatever the things they used. So prehistoric means where the written histories, അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള എഴുതപ്പെട്ട ചരിത്രം നമുക്ക് അവൈലബിൾ അല്ല, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ എഴുതപ്പെട്ട ചരിത്രമില്ല. Okay, they are mostly, forest dwellers, or the people are, they are hunters and these food gatherers, etc. Shila Yugam, you remember? Stone age, that is known as prehistoric age. So there is a module dealing with the prehistoric age. For example, Paleolithic. What is that? Prajina Shila Yugam, Madhya Shila Yugam, Navina Shila Yugam, etc. in Malayalam. So similar way, Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, Neolithic age. There you will understand how the people evolved, the social life, the cultural life, the economic life, how that life of the people evolved from age to age, time to time. Okay, what are their cultural activities, economic activities, how was their society? These are the things we are covering there. Am I right? Prehistoric age. Then proto-historic means that is a transitional phase between the prehistoric and historic. Historic means where the written records are available. Am I right? That is historic age. Written records are available. Now proto-historic means it is between the prehistoric and proto-historic. It is between prehistoric and it is between prehistoric and historic. That age is called a proto-historic, where the written records are available but they are not deciphered. Indus civilization is an example. So many historians believe Indus civilization is a proto-historic civilization. Proto-historic, that is an age between prehistoric to historic, and here even though written records are available, that is not deciphered. Indus seals ഉണ്ട് അതിൽ എഴുത്തുണ്ട് പക്ഷെ അത് ഇതുവരെ decipher ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിട്ടില്ല. മനസ്സിലായോ? So that we are studying about this particular prehistoric to proto-historic. There we will definitely study on this Neolithic age, the Neolithic revolution. This age is called a revolution. Why this Neolithic age is a revolution, or what are the cultural developments of this prehistoric, proto-historic people, etc. That is the demand of UPSC. Then see Indus Valley civilization, a very core module. I will tell you that there are loads of questions they already asked in the prelims and a GS1 part. So similar way, coming to our optional also, this module is very important. We will study its geography, its timeline, or various theories about Indus civilization, its decline, its society, its economy, its culture, its religion, its women, okay, its administration. Those things we will study in detail, because in prelims and mains this module is very important here. Okay, so when you cover Indus very nicely here, automatically you are covering your Indus civilization for your prelims and your GS1. Okay, it's a core module. We know that so many questions they asked from this module, and it's a crucial topic for even for your GS also. Then see megalithic culture. This is something you may feel that directly it is not there in your GS syllabus. Directly you are not studying in the GS syllabus. But of course UPSC will ask, they can ask a question regarding the megalithic, big Stone Age cultures of South India. Okay, this almost happened along with this Iron Age cultures of South India. So this is something, an additional module I would say, which you are not covering for your GS part. Okay, but Aryan and Vedic age, the arrival of the Rigvedic Aryans, their settlement, their polity, their society, their religion, their culture, everything you have to study. Later Vedic polity, later Vedic Aryans, their polity, religion, culture, economy, you have to study. Am I right? Yes, of course, this Vedic life or Vedic age, that's again very important for your, not only for optional, it is important for your GS and your prelims part, because they asked a question like the comparative analysis question in the prelims here. Vedic, Vedic people versus Indus people, they asked a question. Then Vedic religion, they asked a question. Vedic literature, they asked a question. Okay, or RVC versus LVC, Rigvedic people, later Vedic people, comparison, they asked a question. So prelims, lots of questions they already asked. In the mains they asked about Vedic religion, Vedic literature. So this is important for GS1 and your prelims. Again in the optional, this is a core module. We will study, definitely we will study this socio-political, economic, cultural, religious life of this Vedic people. Okay, there are many theories related to this Vedic Aryans, Aryan problem. It is called Aryan problem. Different origin theories are there. Okay, and the socio-economic, political, cultural practices, what all the informations we get from the Vedic literature, what are the limitations, those things we will study. Okay, similar way, Mahajanpadas, this is the history of the kingdoms. 16 kingdoms, am I right? 16 kingdoms, of course, the history of these kingdoms, and also here you will study that Buddhism, Jainism, the cultural developments during this particular age. Buddhism, Jainism, you know that it is very important in the prelims part, it is very important in the mains part. So many questions, one of the core areas of UPSC from this history in prelims and mains, lots of questions they asked. So here what I am trying to establish is all these things are equally important for your prelims and GS also. You see, regarding the modules approach and strategy, I will tell you in detail for optional perspective, from optional perspective. See, there is next module which is Mauryan Empire, Ashoka. Okay, Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara, Ashoka, about Ashoka's Dhamma policy and this Mauryan architecture, Mauryan pillars, stubas, am I right? All these things important for your GS preparation. Then post-Mauryan age, Indo-Greek, Shagas, Kushanas, Then early state in south, you see, Sangam Cholachera Pandyas and these eastern kingdoms, etc. Then Gupta age, post Gupta age, and art and culture of this art culture or this architecture of this ancient India. These are the modules of your ancient India. So just look into this, till you cover these 1 to 12 modules, I am telling you that actually you are covering the modules for your prelims and mains part. Am I right? Prelims and your GS1 part. Okay, the advantage is when you cover these optional modules, automatically, equally you are doing a revision or a very comprehensive study of your prelims history and GS1 history. You got my point now? This is the biggest advantage of this paper. If you look into this, 1 or 2 modules are, which you need not to study for your GS preparation. Rest of the modules you have to study. Rest of the modules you have to study for your GS preparation. That is the advantage of this ancient part. Coming to medieval India, just look into this. The modules are divided like this, but still I would say that even though it is given a separate title, it's actually covering medieval India like this. For example, early medieval India. Early medieval India, which is both the south and north history. Okay, early medieval India, south and north history. For example, north you will cover some rulers are there. For example, Rashtrakutas and this Pratiharas and this Bengal Palas are there. There is a tripartite struggle among these 3 powers for the control of Kanuj. Am I right? So early medieval Indian rulers, Pala, Pratigara, Rashtrakutas and Rajaputs are there. Am I right? Rajaputs, very interesting stories here. Just like a Bahubali or a, that Munar, Triple R, you can just watch these programs because very interesting. It's about the king and queens, about the battles, about the different socio-political, economic, cultural conditions, developments, etc. Easily you can cover this. South India also some popular kingdoms existed there. You heard about Pallavas? Okay, Pallavas were there, Hoysalas were there, Imperial Cholas were there. So first module, it's all about, first 2 modules you are covering about this, like early medieval history of India. Very interesting. Okay, it's a history about those historic battles and its causes, consequences, etc. Then of course you will cover Bhakti Sufi movements. Bhakti Sufi movements. This again very important for your GS preparation. Prelims they asked about different Bhakti saints, Sufi saints, their philosophies. In mains also they asked Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya or Bhakti Sufi movements and their limitations and their success, etc. In mains also they asked. You remember? So same thing we are covering here in detail. Then there is, of course, you cover Vijayanagar history. The history of Vijayanagar Empire. The history of this, Delhi Sultanate. The history of this Mughal Empire. Okay, there in the syllabus it is, the breakdown is like centuries, like 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, 15th. Don't worry, don't be tensed here. The same thing you are covering, even though title is different, the same things you are covering there. Okay, the history of Vijayanagar Empire, the history of Delhi Sultanate, the history of the Mughal Empire, the history of the Maratha Empire, and the history of this European arrival. The history of the European arrival. Okay, when you study this ancient and medieval, please take care. Certain dimensions has to be covered very well. That is the socio-political, economic, cultural, religious dimensions. Any modules you cover, it is Mauryan Empire, Gupta Empire, or it is Imperial Cholas, or it is Delhi Sultanate or Mughal Empire, anything you cover, please make sure you cover these dimensions. There is a social aspect or economic aspect, political aspect, cultural, religious aspect of that particular age or empire or that particular society that has to be covered. Okay, this is important. And also there is an aspect which is change and continuity. Change and Continuity. When you cover anything, for example, let us take about this, like for example, IVC. What is IVC? IVC is Indus Valley Civilization. Indus Valley Civilization religion പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക ഈ റിലീജിയൻ ഇങ്ങനെ പോവുകയാണ് കടന്നു പോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് ഇങ്ങനെ പോയി ഒഴുകി ചിലപ്പം എവിടം വരെ എത്തും മോഡേൺ ഇന്ത്യ വരെ എത്തും അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ അറിഞ്ഞിരിക്കണം ഈ റിലീജിയൻ ഇങ്ങനെ കാലകാലങ്ങളായിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒഴുകി മോഡേൺ ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് എത്തുമ്പോൾ ആ റിലീജിയനിൽ എന്തെല്ലാം ചേഞ്ചസ് സംഭവിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്തെല്ലാം കണ്ടിന്യൂറ്റി ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇൻഡസ് റിലീജിയൻ they had a tree worship which we follow even today. They had that animal worship which we follow even today. They had that linga worship or maybe a fertility cult which we follow even today. They wear that ALS amulets which we follow even today. Am I right? So you see that what all things they in the religion of IVC which is changed or continued to modern day. Similar way the status of the women. For example, what was the status of the Rigvedic women? How it changed or continued in the Gupta age. So you must know what all things changed or continued in the status of the women, position of the women, in the women institutions, practices, etc. Am I right? So that idea you should have when you study the history. Okay, what all things are changing and continuing, this approach always you should have. And when you study ancient and medieval, the socio-political, economic, cultural, religious angles you shouldn't miss. You got my point now? Fine, good. So medieval India, even though it is shown like this, like a 13th century, 14th century, 16th century, 15th century, etc., don't worry, these are not a new rocket science we are studying. These are exactly what the things medieval India modules you have to cover. Same things you have to study, even though title is different. You got my point now? We will focus on lots of debates here. Lots of debates, lots of analysis, etc. We will focus. We are not focusing on the fact and figure and year, etc. Don't worry. Don't think that, oh, Devame, I have to study lots of years and the date. No need for that. UPSC will never ask the date of birth of Babur or what was the birthday, year of this particular Akbar. No such questions are there. Okay, purely analytical questions. So need not to worry. So these are things you have to cover in paper 1. Coming to paper 2, you see. Coming to paper 2, these are the things you have to cover in paper 2. Paper 2, I said that paper 2, paper 2 is covering modern India and this world history, new world history or maybe modern world history, not ancient and medieval world history. It is only modern world history. That means you have to start from 18th century to 21st century AD. Okay, 18th to 21st century only. It is not ancient or medieval world history. It is only modern world history. And this Indian history, this is modern Indian history from 18th century to 21st century. Okay, now see modern India, European penetration in India. You see that Europeans came India. Who are the Europeans came India? You see, first comes the Portuguese, then it is Dutch, then it is British, then it is French. Am I right? So you should know, yes, these European companies, why they came here, what are the push and pull factors, leading to their, colonization, and how this British become successful, how others failed, okay, and how this British become successful, and what are their popular, settlements in India, okay, what are the policies they followed for their success, etc. Okay, so that is European penetration, first module. Then British expansion. You see that there are lots of factors, contributed to their expansion. There is territorial expansion. They built a British India here. How they conquered India one by one. Plashi Buxar battles are there. Mysore war is there. Maratha war is there. Okay, there are lots of wars. They fought with Indian rulers, defeated one by one. And through territorial conquest and through their diplomacy, how they expanded themselves in India. How they built a colonial India, how they made India their, colony. That story, that beautiful story. Then see early structure of this British Raj, administrative structure, revenue structure, or maybe judicial structure, or economic structure, etc. How this East India Company ruled India. What are their economic policies, revenue policies, tax collection policies, their education policy, or their administrative policy, or maybe their legal judiciary system, etc. we are covering there. It's equally important for your GSCR. Think about it. Isn't it important? Of course it is important. It is important for your It is important for your prelim, because so many questions they already asked here about the railway, about the colonial implications, about their education policy, about their judiciary, about their civil service reforms, about their taxation policy, permanent settlement, Mahalwari settlement, Riyadwari settlement, about their, you know, like a conquest, Anglo-Mysore war, Anglo-Maratha war, Anglo-Sikh war, okay, their Burmese annexation, their Afghan policy, okay, about this East India Company's Governor Generals, their reforms, Cornwallis, Dalhousie, Wellesley, or so many things. You see that loads of questions they already asked in prelims and in the GS1 part. So same thing we are covering, bit more in analytical way. You got my point now? Yes. Then there is economic impact of the British colonial rule, socio-cultural developments. Okay, there are Rajaram Mohan Roy, Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Pratana Samaj, Aligarh movement, Deoband movement, so many socio-religious reform movements which happened here. What was the character of the socio-religious reform movements? Causes and consequences, how it impacted India's national awakening, okay, and responses from the side of the British, okay, what are their characteristics, different things we are covering there, same things required for your optional also. And then you see different movements against this British, tribal movements, peasants movements, etc. Rise of Indian nationalism. Then see there are different moderate phase, extremist phase, Gandhian phase in Indian nationalism. Am I right? That we will cover in detail. Then see a revolutionary phase, etc. Then finally freedom and partition. Okay, how India got to freedom and how India partitioned into India and Pakistan, and what are the challenges we faced after that. Post-independence is all about, yes, how he reconsolidated India as a nation. You know, integration of these princely states into India Union, then economic reorganization, or maybe socio-cultural reorganization, then LPG reforms, etc. You see those things we cover here. So what I am saying is that the same things here, same things which is for your GS syllabus, you know, same things you are covering here. So I just don't understand why so many people say it is vast syllabus, it is a Mount Everest, or it is like, you know, that, this, etc. Nothing is there. Just look into the syllabus. Okay, only foolish people will say that it is vast syllabus. This is, even if it's vast, means this you have to study in order to clear your prelims and your GS1 year. These things you have to do, therefore there is no exemption like this. Don't study ancient medieval or this art and culture, etc. Then you are there in the darkness here. If you want to clear prelims and this GS, of course you have to study these things. These are not optional subjects, these are compulsory subjects in your GS preparation. Am I right? So all these modules is a must for every serious UPSC aspirant. That is why I say that those guys who are seriously approaching GS preparation, for them this will be a cakewalk, provided you systematically approach this paper. Contributing both sides, mutually benefiting. Benefiting optional, benefiting your GS preparation. Coming to world history, limited modules are there. You see enlightenment, modern ideas, modern, you know, this European awakening, intellectual awakening. Okay, the world of modern science and technology. So it is about enlightenment. Second is about rise of modern politics, American Revolution. You study American Revolution, industrialization, French Revolution, then building this nation state, Italy and Germany as a nation state. These things you have to cover. Imperialism, colonialism. What are imperialism, colonialism? Then see revolution, counter revolutions, World War I, World War II. Then this, you know, consequences of World War I, World War II. Then there is League of Nations, United Nations organizations. Then there is, you know, unification of Europe, disintegration of USSR, and you know, formation of this unipolar world, bipolar world into unipolar world, rise of USA as a superpower. Same things here. Maybe 20% extra modules you have to cover here, but still I am telling you, if you cover these things decently, definitely world history questions are answerable. World history questions are answerable, no doubts, no confusions. You got my point now? So this is something, the syllabus, this is the syllabus of your history optional paper 1, paper 2, and I am telling you, if you can do justice to this part, of course your optional will be scoring, of course your optional will be a cakewalk. Am I right? Yes, this is nothing, I said that this is not a rocket science. This is not something you learn from an alien planet for the first time. This is the same things you studied in your school days, your college days. If you are arts backgrounds, humanities backgrounds, you might have done at least till this +1, +2. So see, things you already studied there. Now we are, we are consolidating what all things you studied and we are putting it into an order for your exam purpose. Am I right? Same things, nothing else, So this is exactly the syllabus of our optional. Are you clear with this? Are you clear? Now here, what is the strategy? Now we will deal on that strategy of, history optional. What has to be the strategy of paper 1? What has to be the strategy of paper 2? You should have a strategy here. Even though thousands of strategies are available in the market, we must have our own strategy, okay, of scoring this history optional. Coming to paper 1, let me tell you, be it paper 1 or paper 2, the first strategy is, it is common for veterans and common for the new students here. The first strategy is, yes, understand the syllabus thoroughly. Understand the syllabus very thoroughly here. This is the first strategy. There is no strategy can be borrowed from America or Washington DC. Okay, the strategy is common to everyone, and the most proven strategy and the first among them is, understanding the syllabus. Understanding the syllabus. So for example, you are studying IBC. There is a module called Indus Valley Civilization. Of course, under which, the advantage of history optional is, there is, topics, the breakdown of the topics. Even the micro topic also given itself in the syllabus here. They will say, yes, it's geographical factors leading to IBC civilization, or it's a timeline, or about this, different like sites of IBC Indus Valley civilization, or findings, or about its society, or about its economic developments, about its international trade, about this women involvement. See, everything, word by word, they have given that detailed syllabus in the every, that syllabus itself, under the main heading, these subtopics are given there itself. So your first duty is understand the syllabus thoroughly. You should understand what are the keywords, keywords covered under each module. What all things you have to cover there. You underline or encircle the keywords in the syllabus itself. Read it multiple times. When you have this lunch, when you have this dinner, when you have this free time, anytime, just go through the syllabus. Take the printout. Today I will give you the printout of the syllabus, okay, the updated syllabus. And what you have to do is, you just stick it on your study, in the study room, in the study wall, and you just read it multiple times. Yeah, just like GS syllabus, optional syllabus also, you read multiple times, and just to by heart it. Only one thing you have to by heart in this preparation, I'm telling you the syllabus. Okay, here also just understand the syllabus. That is the first thing. Don't do extraordinary things. You see that if the people are saying that there are mastermind strategies, there is, bucket strategy, butterfly strategy, dragonfly strategy. I don't believe in that bullshit things here. Okay, strategy is very simple. People are making things much complicated by using certain complex terms, and the poor students are thinking that, oh my god, dragonfly strategy of history optional. Eh? Or that denotes a strategy of the history optional. You are thinking that, oh my god, there is something, so I shall buy it for 50,000. There is a dragonfly strategy. You will waste your money, you will waste your time, and your hair is getting that grey color. Nothing else is happening. Don't go for this so-called this strategy, that strategy, this upper strategy, lower strategy. Nothing is there. Simple strategy. Understand the syllabus. Understand the syllabus thoroughly. Know the keywords in each module. Then also you revise the PYQ questions here. Last 20 years or 15 years questions you take, multiple times you go through the questions. Okay, with the proof I can tell you, there are lots of guys who cleared history optional with a good score, with a 290 plus or 300, simply understanding this syllabus, the priority areas, understanding the trend and pattern through this, PYQ analysis. They haven't done any other strategies here. I personally know the students who cleared history by simply understanding syllabus and demand of this exam, and through previous year, because previous year questions, so many recurring themes you can understand by analyzing the previous year's questions. Okay, don't ever go for something so-called the complex dragonfly, butterfly, mushroom strategies, etc. Don't go beyond that. Don't waste your time and life for that, okay? So the first thing, understand the syllabus thoroughly. You go for every module, and under every module, the topics and subtopics are given in detail. That is blessing of UPSC, blessing from UPSC. This is the syllabus, you know, this is history optional syllabus. Every topic and micro topics are given in detail. So please encircle, please underline those topics and subtopics. Understand, when I study IVC, these are the keywords I have to take care. From such keywords only they will ask the questions. I guarantee you, I will give you the compilation of the PYQs also to you guys, both online and offline students. And I would say that most of the questions so far, at least last 15 years, they asked from these keywords only. So no need for any tension, any headache, nothing is needed here. If you study the syllabus, if you study according to the syllabus, definitely you are questions are answerable. You got my point now? Got my point now? Yes, this is the first thing you have to do. Second is selecting the study material. Selecting the study material, you must have an integrated approach. For example, when you prepare a note on something, you see that yes, it is a compilation of, for example, Romila Thapar, Ubender Singh, R. Sharma or Nilkant Shastri. You see that different historians, different reference books, even this IGNO material or this NCERT material, okay, all these things is compiled into a single thing when you prepare a note. That is a strategy I follow. So don't worry, my material will do the same thing, same justice to you, okay. So the thing is, selecting study material, I would say that you only trust on the authentic sources here. Because the problem with the history is so many compilations are there, so many things are flooded in the internet here. So don't get confused, don't get into the wrong ideas, wrong informations. I would say selecting study material, your strategy has to be like this. You stick on to the most authentic one. And have a strategy of integrating these different things into one. Okay, you have to take these historians' debates, historians' perspectives, or historiographical analysis, you know, different events, different evidences, different examples, different updates, etc. You integrate into a single one. Okay, for which in history optional it is understood that you have to refer different sources. But here I will make the process easier by making it into a single track or making it into a single channel. Okay, so selecting study material, look into that particular, how much rewarding that thing is. Suppose you are reading something, you feel that it's a huge textbook having this much pages and taking this much hours, and it's if it is not beneficiary or it is not rewarding, you are simply wasting time. Okay, so the strategy has to be like this. If it is ancient India, medieval India, modern India, whatever it is, when you select a particular textbook or a reference book, make sure that it is rewarding or not. For example, Ubender Singh, Ancient and Early Medieval India by Ubender Singh. Why I say that is one of the best textbook for ancient India? Because it is so much rewarding, so much questions are answerable. So much topics of ancient and early medieval is covered there. Be it historiography part, be it historians' opinions, debates, or it is analysis, or it is change and continuity perspective, or different sources accumulation. You see that different things are covered there, different questions are answerable. You get a lot of stuff for different sort of questions. You got my point now? Also, there is in history, there is a mapping part. 50 മാർക്കിന്റെ ഈ മാപ്പിൽ ഡിഫറെന്റ് പ്ലേസസ് ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്ത് അതിന്റെ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉണ്ട്. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയോ? ഹിസ്റ്ററി ഓപ്ഷനിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ കമ്പൽസറി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്. ഒരു ഔട്ട്ലൈൻ മാപ്പ് തരും. ഇൻ ആൻ ഔട്ട്ലൈൻ മാപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ ദ സൈറ്റ്സ് ആർ മാർക്ഡ്, സം ക്ലൂസ് ആർ given. Based on the clues you identify. For example, they say this is Indus site. In the Gujarat, some portal area, in the coastal area, you will identify it is Lothal. Okay, towards the south there is a portal, port city. Port city is, for example, there is a Puhar. Towards the east there is an education center. You will say it is Nalanda. Towards the northwest, Buddhist learning center, you will say Takshashila. You see. So similar way, some clues are given. A clues which we have to identify the site and we have to write a short description to it. So in Ubender Singh's books, so many sites are also covered. That is an advantage. So when you select a material, make sure that it is rewarding, it is it is time saving, and it is solving multiple areas in a single test. Am I right? So that way, that I will help you. Effective reading and note making. Here note making, again I would say that there are different things which you have to bring into your note making, that I will tell you. As I said, the change and continuity approach is there. Okay, this analysis approach is there, sources approach is there, historiography approach is there, subaltern approach is there, different things are there. These things you have to bring into your answer. These things you have to bring into your answer, that I will tell you. Okay, so effective reading and rereading also. You read something and you left it forever. It should not be like that. You read an IVC, again you should have a regular rounds of revision of the same. Whatever the updates you get. For example, recently you read in the newspaper some archaeological findings from this, Kalibangan or Aghigargi, or from this what is called Banavali. Some archaeological findings are there, that you have to update in the note itself. You got my point now? Reread and update in the notes. Then mind mapping is again very important. When you break down things into, for example, look into, for example, I am talking about the Vedic age. Okay, Vedic age, I broadly divide it into RVC and LVC. Then again, RVC, I will talk about the sources. What are the sources which you talk about this RVC? Okay, then I will say about this common life of this RVC people. It has subdivisions. It's a social life, it's economic life, it's cultural life, it's religious life. Okay, again it may have subdivisions, Economic life, I will say their pastoral economy, yes, their agrarian economy, their art and craft. Okay, this way I will divide. You got my point now? So similar way, what I say is like a big subject, a complex subject, you can branch out into topics and micro topics. You can use mind mapping, you can use this, web charting, etc. That will make your process. You can use diagrams, flowcharts, Venn diagrams, sun diagrams, etc. This will make your process very easy and very easy to revise also. You got my point now? That you can follow. I will help you in that area also. Then, even though history is a static subject, I would say that yes, some recent current affair developments, that you have to update. Okay, recent findings. Recently they said that reasons for the decline of Indus civilization is something different. That is change in the cropping pattern, climate change, etc. Okay, recently said that there are some new findings about they had a dairy farming. Initially believed they had no dairy farming. Recently said they had a dairy farming. Recently some findings were like this: Aryans and Indus people have some similarities, striking similarities. So always take care that current affair developments, you have to integrate into answer. Especially when you conclude the answer, these updates can be given, these dynamic conclusions can be given to your answers. Okay, so current affair developments should be updated with your note making. You got my point? Okay, then of course there in this paper one, there is map practice here. Okay, there is map practice means, again I am telling you, in answers, especially when you write answers to paper one, your answer always should have. For example, I will tell you, a question is about, like for example, Mahajanpadas, they had this, trade connections. They had trade connections, or maybe let us take Indus civilization. There is a question, discuss how Indus civilization maintained this, trade connections with these other countries. If this is the question, when you answer this is the sheet, both the side margins would be there. You will write an introduction, then when you write to the body, you will have the headings and subheadings, and subheadings, am I right? Then this part, in the middle of this part, you have to write a map. You have to draw a map. In the map itself, you show what are these, international and domestic trade connections of Indus civilization. You mark Indus civilization and it's a trade with Mesopotamia. It's a trade with the Middle East, it's trade with the Egypt, it's trade with the Rajasthan, trade with this Central India. Okay, that you can mark in the map itself. It alone will fetch you an additional mark here. It alone will fetch you. So most of the ancient India topics, when you deal paper one, the map is compulsory, or map is something, an additional area where it will bring you marks. Okay, so that thing. So map practice also very important. When you practice this Buddhism, Jainism, in the map itself you can just locate what are the popular Buddhist Jain centers. What are the popular ancient educational centers, trade cities, capital cities? Okay, or ancient, what is that called? These cave architecture sites. Okay, or the popular schools of sculpture. All this you can mark in the map itself here. So give importance to that map work also. That will save you, that will help fetch you good marks. Okay, regular revision and practice, stay updated and critical, and to always have the mock test and feedbacks. So coming to optional preparation, regular revision is matters a lot, answer writing practice matters a lot. So here your freedom is like after finishing every module, you can practice. After finishing every unit or every module, you can write answer, you can submit to me, get the feedback. On regular basis you practice it. On regular basis you practice it, get my feedback, and also stay updated in history and critical. Critical means any topic you approach, you must have a critical side. For example, UPSC asks a question like this. Yes, post-Mauryan age is dark age. How will you answer? This they already asked you, post-Mauryan age is a dark age. In the complete black paint, what happened? This is called the dark age because we know that post-Mauryan age there is breakdown of the empire, there is political fragmentation, okay, then there is social discrimination, social divisions, okay, there is this untouchability things become so strong here. Then again we let us see that the economic divisions or economic breakdown in the sense that maybe it is feudal, rise of the feudal states, etc. All those things are there. Rise of new kingdoms instead of a strong single empire, many smaller kingdoms, and these political tensions, conflicts among these rulers. So all those things are there, and the social, this so-called evil practices become stronger, caste system becomes stronger because of those reasons, and the lack of availability of the sources. Because of those reasons, it can be regarded as a dark age. But you must develop a critical analysis there, a critical approach there. Even though it is called a dark age, it may have the other side also. Because you see that this age is also, during this time you could see that this silk trade route was strong here. Silk trade route was strong. India's trade system was strong. You could see that the new schools of art, this Gandhara, Madura, or Amaravati schools of art, developed. So art and architecture or literature, art and architecture or these art forms, then the trade system, etc. Yes, it was flourishing like anything. Am I right? So that way, anything you approach, for example, yes, non-cooperation movement was a national calamity. Will you end up the answer saying that it was the absolute rubbish movement I ever seen in life? Do you say like that? You will also, analyze its positive angles. Am I right? To some extent, why it is called a national calamity by Subhash Chandra Bose. What are the other sides of this particular movement? Am I right? So always you develop a critical approach. Any topic, any unit, any module you study, you should always develop, a critical approach also. Then we will have the mock test and the full test. Mock test we will have subject wise, section wise mock test and full test we will have, and timely feedback programs you should have. What I am saying, these things are required for scoring very well in your optional. So as far as your paper 1 is concerned, take care of these things, understand syllabus thoroughly, topic by topic, then select study materials, with accuracy. I mean that when you make study materials, you make sure that the different things are integrated into one. That means the historiography or the change in continuity or these sources or this what I said is subaltern approach. You see that there are different things, the analysis, the critical analysis, cause and effect, different elements are there that should be brought into a single platform. That way you have to, don't go for multiple sources, you take multiple sources into a single channel. Okay, so that is our approach. So you need not to worry about that. Limit your sources and maximum these different dimensions you bring into a single forum. Okay, that is our idea. Mind mapping is essential that you can do. You are note making, make your notes concise, precise, and make it, what I say is like you have to prioritize the areas. And when you make notes, that should be easy for revision. That should be easy for revision. That should have evidence, examples, case studies. That should have the different historians' opinions, debates, etc. Different sources, etc. Okay. So it's purely from a mains perspective. We will be preparing notes. Okay. I will assist you. Then connecting current affairs, whatever the things are happening in the history, in the news, whatever the recent developments about the history and culture, that you have to update into your notes. Okay. Then map practice is again essential for this religious culture, religious history, social history, economic history, or about the sources, or about these various what is called like a cultural developments, etc. Or for all this we will practice maps. Are you okay? For Indus we will have map, Buddhism, Jainism we will have, for Mauryan we will have map, for this temple architecture, for education system of ancient India, for women's status of ancient India, for different aspects, we will have map practices. Okay. So that thing is again a separate map question is there in this what is called paper one. Am I right? ആൻസേഴ്സിൽ മാപ്പ് കൊണ്ടുവരാനായിട്ട് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കണം. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പേപ്പർ വണ്ണിലെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പക്ക ഒരു മാപ്പ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, 50 മാർക്കിൻ്റെ ഒരു മാപ്പ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്, മറ്റൊരു ഓപ്ഷനിലും ഇല്ലാത്തൊരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് ആണ്. ആ സൈറ്റ് ഏതാണ് കണ്ടെത്തിയിട്ട് അതിനൊരു ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ കൊടുത്താൽ മതി. Integrating sources with the syllabus. Coming to paper 2, your strategy has to be like this: integrating sources with the syllabus. Sources means, of course, as I said, again I am telling you, there are different sources. IGNOU sources are there, Shekhar Bandobhe is there, Biban Chandra is there, different sources are there. Okay. So these different sources must be integrated with the syllabus, because we want all this. Sometimes the IGNOU BA, MA content, we require. Shekhar Bandobhe content we require, Biban Chandra content we require. Okay. Even sometimes NCERT content we require. So we have to integrate different sources with the syllabus. That thing is important. Similar way, I would say that നിങ്ങൾ എപ്പോഴും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ടത് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ coming to modern India, so many historians are there, so many historians, so many historical accounts are there, or historians views are there, debates are there. അതിന് വളരെ ബാലൻസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടത് നമുക്ക് എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റണം, സിലബസിൽ വേണ്ടത് മാത്രം നമ്മൾ എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റണം. So that is again a good approach. Developing questions based study approach. Anything you study, for example, you are talking about this, revolutionaries, you are studying on revolutionaries of Indian freedom struggle. You should know why these revolutionaries in Indian freedom struggle, or what are the factors leading to the rise in Indian freedom struggle. Okay. Or maybe what was this approach of the INC. Okay. What was the response of the INC, or why these revolutionaries become strong outside India, abroad. Okay. Revolutionary activities become stronger outside India, that they become stronger in, for example, Ghadar movement is an example. Am I right? You should also develop a question like this: why revolutionaries fail? Why revolutionaries fail? Why these women and the rural population, didn't support these revolutionaries? So frame some questions. When you study anything, you frame some questions. For example, there is American Revolution. You study on American Revolution. You should know that why it is the first freedom struggle, or why it is first anti-colonial struggle. Why it first anti-colonial struggle? Why it was an economic revolt? Why it was an economic revolt than political revolt? Okay. Why this American Revolution, or how it is set an example, set a model for these anti-colonial struggles? How it is set a model for anti-colonial struggles, or what can be reason for the success? You frame questions here. You frame questions by yourself, and you approach the content that way, so that very easily you can finish that one, very easily you can revise that one. Although also you can simply because the questions you asked, the same questions asked by UPSC also, knowingly or unknowingly, your approach is question answer approach. You are also answering the questions asked by UPSC. Okay. So these things will help you to understand what are the core things I have to study in every module. Question answer approach. Okay. Also you will prepare notes accordingly, which will help you in your answer writing practice. Then structured answer preparation. This is again very nice. Structured answer preparation. Okay. Structured answer preparation. Of course, anything you study, I would say, anything you study, have an idea about the sources. Have an idea about the sources. Have an idea about their causes and consequences. Causes and consequences. Put examples. Examples or evidences. Bring debates. Different debates or different historians' views regarding that particular issue. Okay, regarding that particular issue or topic, etc. Okay, and they come up with an open-ended conclusion. If you have some current affairs updates, just do that. You got my point, na? So when you prepare note, you can just, what all the sources regarding this particular content, different sources which give you information about this particular content that you can mention. For additional reference also, you can say that. Then any issues you study in modern India, take care, their causes and consequences you must know very well. Okay, how they're, this causes and consequences, you just focus on that, any issues, any events, their causes, their consequences, okay, that you have to focus. Then see that you try to bring in the examples, evidences regarding that particular things, debates or historians' views about that particular thing, and of course you should have a critical angle on that particular thing. Whatever it is discussed, develop a critical angle on that particular thing. Then see, always try to bring up an open-ended conclusion. Open-ended conclusion. You are not drawing an extreme conclusion. You are not drawing an absolute conclusion. This can be like that or this can be like this. Suppose different historians have different opinions, you have a balanced conclusion. Okay. Then see that current affair updates. സോ നിങ്ങൾ ഇത് വറി ചെയ്യേണ്ട കേട്ടോ. ഞാൻ ഈ പറയുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ പെട്ടെന്ന് ടെൻഷൻ അടിച്ചിട്ട് തലയിൽ ബോംബ് പൊട്ടുന്നല്ലോ, അങ്ങനത്തെ ചിന്തയൊന്നും വേണ്ട. ദിസ് ഈസ് വെരി ഈസി. ഐ വിൽ ഹെൽപ്പ് യു. ഇത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെന്നുള്ളത് ഞാൻ പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു തരും. ഈ അപ്രോച്ചിൽ പോകുമ്പോഴാണ് ഹിസ്റ്ററി ഓപ്ഷണൽ സ്കോറിങ്. ഹിസ്റ്ററി ഓപ്ഷൻ മാത്രമല്ല, എനി ഓപ്ഷൻസ് യു മസ്റ്റ് ഹാവ് എ യുണീക് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി ഓഫ് നോട്ട് മേക്കിംഗ്. ഓക്കെ, then see, yes, mind mapping as we said, analytical approach, examples and case studies, current relevance and comparative analysis. Comparative analysis means anything you compare, For example, UPSC has a question like, for example, what is called American Revolution versus French Revolution. Okay, or Ottoman Bismarck versus this particular, what is his name? Yeah, some statements of this world, of Europe. You can take anybody, that Italian like revolutionaries or these German revolutionaries. Such questions can be there. Or simply you can expect a question like this, for example, NCM versus CDM, NCM versus non-cooperation movement versus civil disobedience movement, or Gandhiji versus Subhash Chandra Bose. You see, so comparative analysis, that kind of approach you should have. Any issues, if they are try to connect with the other events also. Try to connect with when you study something. For example, when you study NCM, non-cooperation movement, try to connect or try to compare and contrast NCM with the other popular similar character events of the freedom struggle. Am I right? Similar way, personalities also, compare and contrast the traits, the philosophies, the teachings, the ideologies of different personalities. Am I right? So that thing is also important here. Then anything you study, always paper 1 or paper 2 have revisions, thorough revisions, have practice. Then here also maps and diagrams will definitely save you. For example, when you go for 1857 revolt, by drawing a map you can simply locate what are the popular centers of 1857 revolt, what are the different social classes participated in 1857 revolt, what are the major nervous centers of 1857 revolts, major leaders and the reasons for 1857 revolt. This can be done in a map here. Okay, or these events of this 1857 revolt, that can be done in a map. Am I right? Similar way, for example, the rise of nationalism, Indian nationalism, different events leading to nationalism, that can be done in a map. Different events happened in different parts of India, how they are interconnected. Okay, so what I said is like, you can use maps even for modern India also. British conquest of India, where all they conquered, where all they applied their diplomacy, okay, where all they established their buffer zones. So that can be done in a map. So maps and diagrams you can use. And finally, mock test is important. Here also regular answer writing and mock test is important. So paper 2, again I'm telling you, without wasting time, look into this. Integrating sources with the syllabus is important. Developing question based approach is important. Structured answer preparation for any topic, theme based. For example, colonialism, British colonialism. Okay, socio-religious reform movements, or maybe Indian responses to British colonialism, or Indian nationalism, or moderate phase of Indian nationalism, extremist phase of Indian nationalism, Gandhian phase, different events of Gandhian phase, okay, or tribal insurrections, tribal uprisings. You see, different theme-based notes you can prepare. Sufficient examples, evidences, case studies you bring into that particular note. Different debates, historians' views you bring into that particular note. Okay, so these things will definitely save you in your mains, I mean in your optional preparation. Structured answer preparation, I will help you with each subject, each module. Mind mapping, the huge complex topic can be that you break it into pieces, into modules and into topics and subtopics. As I have shown that Vedic, similar way you can, using mind map you can simplify the complex topics. That will save you your time, that will help you in your revision part. Similar way, analytical approach. Don't go for only the facts, events, memorization, etc. You dig deeper into that. Dig deeper means, analyze it. What are the causes behind this? What were the consequences? What were the impacts? Okay, what are the different debates or historians' views taken into this? Okay, what are the other sides? What are the positives, negatives? Okay, arguments, counter arguments. This way, you have an analysis of any event, any event. Then see, current affairs you update, do multiple revisions, and of course maps and diagrams, that will makes your preparation much easier. Okay, these things you can take care when you prepare paper 2. Then in paper 1 we have a mapping task here. You remember, we have a mapping task. We have like what is called an outline map is given. An outline map is given. The sites are marked in the map, and some clues are given. You are asked to identify the site and give a short description. Okay, so here in the question how they ask, in the question, on an outline map of India, the sites are marked, some hints are given. So based on the hints, what you have to do? So in the first paper 1, there is outline map and the sites are marked there, hints are given. Based on the hints, you have to identify the sites. That way, 20 sites are marked, 20 into 2.5, that means 50 marks. This is an affair of the 50 marks. It's a 50 marks question. It's a 50 marks question. Okay, what you have to do is like these 20 sites, you have to identify with the given clues or hints, and you give a short description for each. Yes, that alone carries 50 marks. അത് ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഈസിയർ പാർട്ടാണ്, ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് പാർട്ടല്ല, ഈസിയർ പാർട്ടാണ്. വാട്ട് യു ഹാവ് ടു ഡു? പ്രീവിയസ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് നമ്മൾ നന്നായിട്ട് അനലൈസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വി വിൽ ഗെറ്റ് എ പിക്ചർ. വാട്ട് ആർ ദ മാപ്പ് സൈറ്റ്സ് ആസ്ക്ഡ്, you will get a picture on this. Then compilation of the sites that Gallant will provide, don't worry, Gallant will provide. Map access, organized mapping, grid system. So regarding the map practice, the first thing I would say that you know how to draw Indian map. First thing, you practice drawing Indian map. So this is our today's assignment. Next session will be on Sunday 2 to 5. We'll have a break. Sunday session will be 3-hour session, but in between we will have a break. Tomorrow no session. So Sunday you will reach sharp at 2 p.m. നിങ്ങൾ സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ മാപ്പ് വരച്ചിട്ട് വരിക. യു ഡ്രോ ദ ഔട്ട്ലൈൻ മാപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ. ജസ്റ്റ് ട്രൈ. ഈവൻ യു ക്യാൻ സ്കെച്ച് ഓൾസോ, നോ ഇഷ്യൂസ് ഇനീഷ്യലി, ബട്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ഇറ്റ്. ഡ്രോയിങ് മാപ്പ് യു പ്രാക്ടീസ് ഇറ്റ്. ഓക്കെ, സോ വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് തിങ് you have to practice the map of India. Then I will show you. For example, look into this. This is the outline map of India. You can follow the grid pattern. What is grid pattern? You are drawing lines like this. Have you seen? Could you see? This way. Okay, so when you practice like this, UPSC will ask a question like this. For example, what is the question here? Yes, suppose here in the question paper they have given a clue like this. They marked the site here. They marked a site here, and they given a clue like this Neolithic site. They given a clue like a Neolithic site. Now the advantage is നിങ്ങൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഗ്രിഡ് വരച്ചിട്ട് ഇത് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാലുള്ള ഏറ്റവും വലിയൊരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ നമ്മൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെയായിരിക്കും പഠിക്കുന്നത്. ദ പോപ്പുലർ യെസ്, നമ്മളൊരു ലിസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ടായിരിക്കും പഠിക്കുന്നത്. പ്രീ ഹിസ്റ്റോറിക് സൈറ്റ്സ് ഇൻ ഇന്ത്യ, prehistoric sites in India, number 1. Number 2 is IVC sites in India, IVC sites. Number 3, Vedic sites in India. Number 4, Buddhism, Jainism sites in India. Okay, number 5, Mauryan sites in India. Okay, or the popular temple sites in India, or the cave painting sites in India. Then there is, for example, the popular ancient capital cities or the port towns. Okay, or the popular what is called the pottery sites. This is the way we will have, we will divide it into multiple themes. That way we will cover all the maps. So the advantage is like if you cover the prehistoric sites, നിങ്ങൾ അത് ഗ്രിഡ് വരച്ചിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ഇത് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ you will have a clear cut idea where all these prehistoric sites exist in ancient India. Am I right? In the map itself you already practiced, you will have clear cut idea. So simply saying a Neolithic site somewhere in Srinagar, somewhere near to Srinagar or in the top Kashmir, you will understand that that is Barsom. That is Barsom, where the Pittu dwellings etc. Pittu dwellings etc. practiced. Is a popular Neolithic site in near to Srinagar, or it is in Jammu and Kashmir. You will understand this is a Neolithic site. This is Barsom. Am I right? Similar way, you will even in the chain you are following the grid system. So grid you see that one side you given 1, 2, 3, 4, one side you given C. So this site എവിടെയാണ് വരുന്നത്? This is in C3 ലാണ് വരുന്നത്. എവിടെയാണ് വരുന്നത്? That comes in grid C3. This way you can mark each site here. Okay, Lothal comes in this particular grid, or maybe Adirampakkam comes in this particular grid, Amaravati comes in this particular grid, Takshashila comes in this particular grid, Ajanta comes in this particular grid, or maybe this what is called Puhar comes in this particular grid, or this Badami comes in this particular grid. So if you practice grid means you will understand this is C3, or it is D1, or it is F5, or it is E4. This way you can identify the site. മനസ്സിലായോ? അപ്പോൾ ഗ്രിഡ് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് നമുക്ക് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ളത്. പ്രീഹിസ്റ്റോറിക് സൈറ്റ്സ്, IVC സൈറ്റ്സ്, വേദിക് സൈറ്റ്സ്, ബുദ്ധിസം ജൈനിസം സൈറ്റ്സ്, മൗര്യൻ സൈറ്റ്സ്, ടെമ്പിൾ സൈറ്റ്സ്, കേവ് സൈറ്റ്സ്, capital sites, port cities. You see that these are the things we have to cover. അപ്പോൾ ഗ്രിഡ് വരച്ച് നമ്മളത് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ things will be much easier for you. This way itself we will cover 350 sites. So 20 questions easily answerable. You got my point na? This is something we are following, and you have to write a short description. ഈ ഓരോ സൈറ്റിനും നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നു. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ബർസോം, we will say what are the descriptional ideas we should have. We must say it's a geographical identity, maybe we belonging to which state or which district, or we will say it is on the river bank, this particular river bank, or it is this much kilometers away from this particular capital city. That kind of the geographical identity, geographical information we will give. Second thing is, historical importance. Any historical importance, a particular battle was fought here, or maybe what is called a particular popular ruler belongs to here, or an event happened here, okay, or this was a center of this kind of operations etc. Whatever historical importance, if any. Then the cultural importance, if it is part of this world heritage or UNESCO heritage, that you can say, or maybe any recent findings. If there are some recent findings, you can mention there. Okay, these are the informations you need to write. Only 30 words is required. So it's a geographical identity, it's a historical or cultural relevance, recent findings etc. You can add that. That's it. You got my point, na? That is a short description you have to use here. Then as far as the history is concerned, few things, detailed strategy I will share you, but still I would say few things you take care. The change and continuity. The change and continuity strategy. What is change and continuity strategy? Of course, you must know that how the things are, getting changed or remain same, over a period of time. You see that don't just focus on the events, the personalities, the number of the horses, elephants, number of the battles, not like that. You should have an approach like this, change and continuity. As I said, for example, let us take the women of ancient India, the women of ancient India. You must know how this position of the position of the women, or maybe the role of the women, or maybe the institutions attached with the women, or the social practices attached with the women. Okay, socio-economic cultural conditions of the women. Yes, how the position of the women, okay, the general position of the women, the role of the women, institutions attached to women, or the social practices attached to women, socio-economic cultural conditions, religious conditions attached to women, how they remain unchanged. Okay, how they remain unchanged, or maybe how they continued, or how they changed over a period of time. That means you are taking from IBC to Gupta, or you are taking from Rigvedic to that Mauryan age, or you are taking from Maurya to this post-Gupta. You must know that what are these, changes and continuities in the role, position, or socio-economic, cultural status, or maybe women institutions, etc. How it got evolved, how it got changed, or remain the same. That analysis you should have. Okay, there you can bringing different historians views also, different historians views also, or different informations conveyed from these primary sources. For example, Manusmriti, Arthashastra, okay, Megasthenes Indica, or maybe secular these plays are there, Sanskrit plays are there, Buddhist Jain literary works are there. How such literary works, or how the inscriptions, how the foreigners' accounts, how they talk about the change or continuity in the status or role of the women, how the secondary sources with various historians, they interpret this changing position of the women, or maybe the continuity of the status of the women, etc. So that analysis is very important, not only for women. I am telling you, this is not only for women, about various institutions, about the social conditions, economic conditions, cultural conditions, religious practices, about the subaltern group, about the women, Shudras, lower segments, how their position continued or changed over a period of time, or from time to time. You got my point now? So when you study history, this change and continuity strategy, that has to be very core to our preparation. Second thing is, of course, the sources approach. Sources. See, every answer you can start with a source here. That is also one approach of starting an answer. For example, you are talking about this, slavery system in India. When you talk about the slavery system in ancient India, in the introduction itself, you can start with the various sources which you talk about the slavery system in India. A safe introduction. Am I right? So here again, it is very important. You must have a clear crystal idea about anything you study, be it IBC, be it Maurya, be it Gupta, be it this revenue administration of ancient India, be it local self-government of ancient India, or be it this, art of ancient India, anything you study, always take care that you have the sufficient coverage of the sources, that is primary sources and the secondary sources. Okay, so please take care of these aspects. When you talk about this administration, when you talk about the social conditions, when you talk about the economic practices, when you talk about ancient India's international relations, when you talk about the trade system, when you talk about the feudal system, anything you talk about, definitely you should have a good grip over various sources, primary sources, secondary sources, with regard to these particular various conditions, or maybe developments or events of this ancient medieval India. That is very much important. Okay, that is, so change and continuity strategy or approach, sources approach. Then there is a subaltern approach. What is subaltern approach? Subaltern approach is what? When you study ancient and medieval India, yes, definitely You should know what was the status of the lower sections. Okay, you have to learn from their perspective, from their point of view, like the women point of view. Okay, women, the position of the women of ancient medieval times, the position of the Shudras of ancient medieval times, the position of the artisans, the ancient medieval times, the position of this, rural population, the position of this working class. Okay, so their angle, what was their, how was their social life, how was their economic life, how was their religious life, okay, or how they got support from these ruling classes. Okay, what all the problems they faced. Okay, that subaltern approach is very important in this perspective. Okay, I said the three approaches. I said change and continuity approach is there, sources approach is there, then what is next? What is next? Subaltern approach is there. Then another important thing I would say that it is something, nothing but it is a historiography. It is a historiography. Historiography is what? Anything you study, you will have to go for different interpretations. Different interpretations, different debates, different perspectives, different perspectives by the historians. Okay, this is not the same way everybody approached the things here. For example, coming to the decline of IVC. Coming to decline of IVC, there are different theories. Some say it is Aryan invasion, Mortimer Wheeler. Some say it is, this change in the course of the river. Some say it is because of what is called a deforestation. Some say it is because of the tectonic practices, landslides, earthquakes, and droughts, etc. So you see that there are different theories put forward by different historians. Okay, so these different interpretations, different perspectives, and debates, initiated by these historians on various events and various developments of the history, that you should study very well. Okay, that will helpful in your conclusion part of the answer, because history always demands open-ended conclusions. You don't have any absolute conclusion to anything. Okay, based on various interpretations, you can conclude anything. Am I right? So here, this is also very much important. When you study this, you should also cover what are the different historians' viewpoints. What are the different historians, views on different aspects of the history. Okay, that thing is again very important. Another approach is, I would say that analytical. Analytical is very simple. I said that ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങളെല്ലാം by heart ചെയ്തു പോകുന്ന strategy ആയിരിക്കരുത്. You should always ask questions here, like this how, why not, this type of the questions, you ask yourself. Then you will get, the analysis of any topic here. You find this, pros and cons of the same thing, arguments and counter arguments, negatives and positives. Okay, so try to cover it is in a 360-degree. The sense is that yes, when you study anything, you should not like this. You are learning by heart this, date, figures, timeline. It should not be like that. What I say is like you should self-doubt, or you should ask self-questions here. When you study anything, you must just say that why this thing happened like this. What can be the different factors contributing to this? What are the different stakeholders of this? Or how it happened that way? Why it had this much impacts only? What could have been the result if it happened in that way? Okay, so ask such doubts to yourself and you will find, a good analysis of that topic. You got my question, na? So analysis is again very important. So anything you study, ancient India, medieval India, modern India, world history, you ask questions to yourself. For example, Napoleon Bonaparte. He is regarded as the brain of, or a child of revolution. But he is the same person who reversed many of the revolutionary ideas. So you have to ask yourself, what are the policies Napoleon implemented and what are the policies which went against the revolutionary ideas, etc. Am I right? Or we will say that blood and iron policy alone saved this German unification. You should say that what are other things which also helped in German unification. Advantages and disadvantages of blood and iron policy. Achievements and limitations of blood and iron policy. Am I right? So always develop an analysis of anything, everything you cover in history, be it ancient India or medieval India, or it is world history, modern history. Always analyze, always try to find both the sides here, its positives, negatives, or its advantages, disadvantages, its favoring arguments and countering arguments, all those things, and how sufficient examples also, how sufficient examples. So this is something I am telling you here. But as far as this history optional is concerned, always you should have this what is called a change and continuity approach, sources approach, debates approach, analytical approach, and this historiography approach, then subaltern approach. Okay, don't ever lose it. These are very much important as far as this learning of the history for optional is concerned. Okay, these things should be there in your mind. You should cover sources as many as possible. Okay, you should also learn it from the subaltern perspective, from common people's perspective. You should engage in a debate, go for its arguments and counter arguments. You should also have that historiography part. You should try to bring in all those popular historians' viewpoints, perspectives, or different dimensions on that particular topic. Have a good analysis. Then change and continuity element. These things, don't ever compromise when you approach the history optional. In detail, I will tell you how these things will work out with the examples. I will tell you in the next session. Actually, most probably next session we are starting our first module. So this is a strategy session. This is an orientation which I share with you. Of course, a detailed strategy session I will give in a separate class. I will provide you a separate detailed strategy session. So I hope you got almost all these fundamental basic ideas regarding how to approach a history optional, or why history optional one of the super or one of the best optional choice, I would say, one of the easiest optional choice, I say. You got an idea, na? All of you got an idea? Got it? Fine, that's it. So our plan is to finish history optional by this December itself. By December itself, we will finish our history optional, and we are covering both the paper 1, paper 2, and the study material I will provide you. And I will also suggest you what are the page numbers you have to refer for different ancient, medieval, modern, world history, etc. Then historiography part is also covered, mapping part is also covered, and strategies like this every week we will have 3 to 4 sessions. That in the Telegram group itself I will announce what are the days we are conducting the classes. You stick on to the classes, my material, my class notes, and that things will definitely contribute to your success. Okay, you may ask me whether you should read some additional material. Definitely that I will suggest you what are the things you have to read, that only you read. Got my point? Got it? Are you happy? Okay, so winding up,